questions.
Okay, this is about to go live in just a second here. Okay. And we are live. Let's see.
So Danielle, I can send Rob the link if you want to focus on other things.
Just sent it right now.
Okay, good stuff.
Thanks. Perfect. Cool. Okay. We'll give him just a few minutes. We only have one person watching now, which is probably one of us. So let's just give it a few minutes so people can start coming in. Okay, we've got a few people that have joined us, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Caoimhin, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So hi, everyone. I'm Danielle from Blackrock Castle Observatory, and welcome to Tech Week. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Blackrock Castle Observatory education channel. If you play around on the channel, you'll see we have lots of different resources here for teachers and general space enthusiasts and a lot of education things here as well, more than just our live streams. But thank you so much for taking part in our live session today. We've got a great topic lined up for you, and we're talking about light pollution. So this is really near and dear to the people of the astro world, but it also affects people locally. And even if you're not part of the astro world, it affects everyone really around the world. And you may have heard this term before, you may have heard about light pollution, but maybe you're not quite sure exactly what that is or what that means. And how can you be part of the solution? There are ways. So we have Caoimhin with us here today, this morning. And Caoimhin is a member of the Blackrock Castle Observatory team and delivers many of our workshops at the castle. So he might be a familiar face if you've ever visited us for one of our workshops at the castle before. So Caoimhin is going to run our ESERO Ireland workshop for us now for Tech Week. And good morning, Caoimhin.
Morning, Danielle. How are you?
Very good. How are you doing this morning?
Good, very good.
And you're going to go through all the ins and outs of light pollution and what we can do about it, right?
Absolutely, yep.
All right, so I'm going to turn this over to you and let you take it from there and let us know everything you know, and we'll have some questions for you actually after. So anybody who's watching us now, you can go ahead and leave comments in the comment section on the YouTube channel, and we will be able to take those questions. And after Caoimhin is finished with his talk, then we'll go back and answer those questions for everyone watching. Okay. All right.
Great. So guys, the first thing we're going to do is bring up our set of slides to do with light pollution. Right. So as you can see here, we've got our Tech Week slides, and Tech Week is in association with the Science Foundation Ireland, ESERO Ireland, and DPSN. We won't spend too much time on those. We'll get into what light pollution really is. So here we've got a view of the Earth, and you might be able to see at the side, we're calling it the black marble. Normally we call the Earth the pale blue dot, but here in nighttime, well, it should be almost completely black. There's no sunlight falling on the Earth, but we can still see plenty of lights on this globe. So you might be able to see Just down here, we've got the Nile River and the city of Cairo. All of these lights are human lights. They're lights that we're making, lights from the city. But if you take a look up here in the north of Africa, well, this is the Sahara Desert. Very, very few lights, very few cities, no street lights. So we're not seeing as much light there. Now, this does look almost a little pretty, all of these little lights, but these lights shining into space, well, that's not very useful for us. We don't want to light up the sky. We want to light up our streets and our roads. This light shining up is a little bit of a waste, but it's very clear to us what areas are bright and what areas are dark, so we can see where the problem is coming from. And we can do something very similar with pictures of our own country. So we're going to take a look at Ireland by night. So on the left-hand side, we've got an image of our little island, and you can see the darker, more blue areas. Those are dark skies, and we can see some nice ones down in the direction of Kerry. And the brighter areas, there's some dark areas by Kerry, bright areas by Cork, by Dublin, the big cities. Looking down on a country from space, it's very easy to figure out where most of the people are because you'll see all of those lights. And thanks to our colleagues in Trinity College Dublin, we have this nice close-up of Dublin, and you can see some of the very bright areas like Croke Park, the Dáil, the Bus Áras. Not only can you see those bigger buildings very clearly, the street lights are so bright, you can even see the shapes of the streets. We don't need people in the sky. We don't need astronauts to see where our streets are. We need to see them down here on Earth. So this lovely glow shining into the sky, it's a waste. It's a real waste of energy and a real waste of money. So a couple of questions for you. You can have a think about those, and we might come back to them at the end. The darkest parts of Ireland, you should be able to see from the image we just looked at. There we go. You can see which parts are much, much darker, our dark skies in Kerry, in Mayo. The type of objects that emit light at nighttime, well, of course, we've got natural and artificial sources of light. The artificial sources are probably the ones most of us are very familiar with. The natural sources of light, things like the moon and the stars that we see at nighttime. The next question, do all animals sleep at night? Well, they don't. Some animals are awake all night long, and the animals that are awake at night, they're usually awake because they need darkness, because it helps them to hide. It helps them to hide from predators or hide from their prey. So lighting up nighttime can make things a little bit more difficult for those nighttime, those nocturnal animals. Now, can you have a shadow at nighttime? I think that's a great question. You can figure that one out for yourself. You can go out into your garden on a dark night and see if you have a shadow. You might get a shadow from artificial lights, but can you get a shadow from the natural lights that we see at nighttime? It's worth trying that a couple of different times. It might be different on different nights with different weather and different phases of the moon. The bottom two questions we're going to take another look at a little bit later. Why do we use lampshades in our houses, and why are street lights important? There's a nice connection between lampshades and streetlights that we're going to take a look at towards the end of these slides. Just here, we've got a little bit more of a diagram of what light pollution might look like to you. So of course, we've got useful light just under the street light, lighting up a footpath. That's light that we really, really need. But if you're not on the footpath and the light is still shining into your eyes, we've got our little marker for direct glare just there. That direct glare, it can be quite annoying, but it can also be quite dangerous. If you're driving down the road and a light shines straight into your eyes, it can make it difficult to see for a second or two, and often that's enough to cause an accident. When light that is useful starts straying into areas where it doesn't belong, That's what we call light trespass. I am very familiar with light trespass, and I'm sure many people who live in the cities are, because streetlights in the cities, they're often 2 stories tall, so they can shine straight into 2-story windows. And that's something I'm very familiar with. It's quite difficult to sleep in some of the rooms in my house because there's big streetlights outside and they can keep things bright all night long. And when that light starts shining up into the sky and reflecting off clouds and other things, that's when we get sky glow. And sky glow can be visible above you or around you. So if you're living a little outside of the city, you might be able to tell where the city is at nighttime thanks to that glow over the cities. You can see a glow like that over big factories and big stadiums as well. So this sky glow, it can be one of the more obvious, more clear effects of light pollution, but light trespass and direct glare, they can be very, well, at least very annoying. So here we have some of the cost of light pollution. It is a very big waste of energy. It costs money to produce energy, so it is a waste of money as well. What we're seeing here is from America. It's from the US Department of Energy in 2011. So of course, their costs are in billions of dollars, and it is billions of dollars that can be wasted every year, because energy that could be used to power a plasma screen TV or your house or keep you warm, instead of that energy being used constructively, it's wasted. It's being used to produce light, and some of that light is just going straight up into the sky. So just in the top right corner, we have a little bit of a calculation just showing how much energy gets wasted per house per night, and what you could do with that energy. Every night that you're wasting energy outside, that's an hour of watching TV that you could be using instead. And of course, a 50-inch plasma screen TV, that could be an hour on your laptop, that could be an hour playing a game, and that energy, instead of being used for those constructive, entertaining purposes, it's just getting wasted. It's just shining into the sky where it isn't much good to anyone. Here is a great example of what the sky can look like if you're somewhere nice and dark compared to being somewhere much, much brighter. So we often use the program Stellarium, and we will take a look at Stellarium a little later to explain what way the sky is going to look in different areas or under different conditions. So number 1 here is a very dark sky. At Caoimhin in County Kerry, the Ballycroy wetlands in Mayo, there's some of our very dark skies here in Ireland. Even a rural sky, not perfectly dark, but free from a lot of streetlights and houses, that's going to give you a nice view. You should be able to see the glow of the Milky Way in a rural sky, but you might not see it in a suburban sky. And when you start pushing in towards the real city center, well, that can limit your view even more. There are some constellations that are almost impossible to see in the city because the stars that make them up are blocked from view. We are going to use the program Stellarium a little bit later to take a look at what's visible and what isn't visible under different conditions. Luckily, not the entire world is a city. So if you are stuck in a city with this inner city sky, you might be able to travel out somewhere darker, go to one of the dark skies, and get a chance to see one of those excellent dark sky views. So this is just what we're going to be doing next, using Stellarium to take a look at bright and faint stars and making a planetarium box. Here is our planetarium box. So what we have here is a cardboard box, 2 of them, a big and a small cardboard box. The bigger cardboard box is just our frame, our outside. The smaller cardboard box here at the back, that has a light source inside of it, a little light bulb, a flash lamp, anything will do. Then you put that light into the box and cover it with tinfoil. Then you poke holes in the tinfoil. The holes in the tinfoil will be our stars. They will allow the light through. Even a toothpick is fine. You don't need anything too sharp to pierce tinfoil. Once you've got a nice collection of stars, you should be able to see light from inside the box, projecting those stars onto the bigger box around it, as long as there's not too much light. If you have another light bulb on top of this cardboard kitchen towel roll, I'm sure we will have a lot of kitchen towel rolls very soon. These cardboard tubes can help support a light at the top, just like a street light. And what we've done here is we have added a lampshade. Lampshades are very useful for diffusing light, for redirecting light. And this lampshade is pointing all of the light down, exactly where you would need it. If you were walking around on the ground, it's the ground we need to be lit up. So those kinds of lampshades, what we call fully shielded fixtures, they keep all of the light going down so you can still see the stars in the sky. More and more streetlights are being covered with these shields, keeping the light where we need it, where it's useful. But there are still plenty of older streetlights where the light is shining up into the sky and blocking out the stars that we should be able to see. So you can take a look around your area and see if the streetlights have a cover, if they have a shade, or if the light is just shining up into the sky. As well as streetlights, the lights that we use to light up our gardens, to light up our homes, or even to light up certain buildings, those often send light into the sky. So by covering them, by pointing them in a different direction, we can cut back on the amount of light that we're losing to space, which will help us cut back on the amount of money and energy we're losing to space as well. So before we go to the globe at night, and we will go there very soon, we're going to take a quick look at that program Stellarium. So I am going to get Stellarium up and running here. We'll be using Stellarium 19.3, and that is one of the more up-to-date versions of Stellarium. And that's going to give us a nice clear view of the night sky as soon as I can get out of this PowerPoint. So Stellarium is a fantastic resource, and for anybody who's been to Blackrock Castle before, Stellarium is something we use all of the time. It's very useful for showing what's going to come up in the night sky, what you'll be able to see, and also what you won't be able to see, which is sometimes just as important to understand. So as soon as Stellarium starts running for me, we'll be able to take a closer look. Luckily, with these programs, we can take away all of the light pollution, we can bring it back, and we can even change where we are looking at the sky. So we are going to take a look at the sky from Cork, but I will change the sky from Cork City to the countryside around Cork, and eventually to a dark sky like Caoimhin in County Kerry. So we're here during the day. Let's move that to nighttime. So in Stellarium, we have this handy view panel, comes from a toolbar on the left, which allows us to change the amount of light pollution. Where I live, near to the middle of Cork City, I normally see a similar sky to this. So I'm setting my light pollution at 4. We're going to leave the sunset just a little bit more. Perfect, here we go. So this is the kind of sky that I would see from Cork City. So here we go. And this is the sky for the 1st of April. So this is how the sky is going to look tonight. So we're looking into the south, and if we look nice and high into the southern sky, we will see the moon on one side, about a half moon, and on the other side, you should see a curved, almost sickle-like shape. This is the constellation of Leo. I'm going to give us a closer look. And we're going to use this constellation to figure out how much light pollution there is in the sky. So Regulus is the brightest star in Leo here at the front. It is the bottom of this lovely sickle shape going up and around. At the back of Leo, we have this triangle shape. And the very bottom of the triangle is the nebula. It's the second brightest star in Leo. So the brightest on one side, second brightest on the other. The second brightest star is part of a triangle. The brightest star is part of this curve. One of the great things about Leo is this space in the center. It is a fixed part of the sky, just a little box. And in this box, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars. Not too bad. I can see 5 stars there. This is how I'd normally see it from Cork City. I'm not in the very middle of the city. So if you are in one of the brighter areas, you might see a little less. So let's turn this light pollution first up to 5. Already we're starting to see the stars are getting fainter, still there, but certainly harder to see. If we bring the light pollution all the way up, here we are. This is a very big city. Now we can see none of the stars inside Leo. And remember, this is us taking a closer look. Just using my eyes, I can just about see Regulus. Maybe the nebula, very, very faint there. This is the opposite of what you want. This is lots of light pollution, very few stars. If we remove the light pollution, this is what you would want to see. This is a perfect dark sky, the kind of thing you'll see in a very clear night in Carrick-Siveen in County Kerry. Just using our eyes, Regulus is very bright and clear, that curved shape. And just with your eyes, there is a few stars visible inside the center of Leo. If we go back to our closer look, well, we can see many stars, 30 or 40 inside this space, with more back here in the triangle and many more around Leo. The best way to figure out how light polluted your sky is to see how many stars you can see. Lots of stars means little light pollution. Very few stars means lots of light pollution. And this way, this comparison between lots of stars and fewer stars, this is one way you can help figure out the light pollution in your area. Why would you want to figure out the light pollution in your area? Because people around the world are trying to figure out which places have light pollution, which places don't, and if it's getting better or worse. We're going to take a look at one group that does that and how you can join in. So the Globe at Night, they are an open citizen science project that intends to track where light pollution is, where it's getting better, where it's getting worse, and it's one of the things that you can join in with. We call this citizen science when ordinary people are using their skills and their knowledge to help scientists find objects in the night sky. So the Globe at Night has been going on for years and years, but it's never too late to join in. So we're going to take a look at the Globe at Night website and how exactly you can give your information on your sky. So this is the Globe at Night website. When you first open it up, you can see they're talking about the April 2020 campaign. We're just at the start of April, but as we come into April, Leo is the constellation they will want you to look at. In fact, if we scroll down a little here, yeah, there's the constellation of Leo. This really is meant to be a lion. I know it kind of looks like a bear, or some mythical creature, but this is meant to be the lion in the sky. And if you look closely, well, there's the nebula and our little triangle, and we've got our bright sickle or curve there with Regulus. It is the same stars, even though it looks a little different. To find Leo, looking up towards the south over the next couple of days will help you find it. And once you find Leo, you can report how many stars you can see. So these reports, they're trying to build up an archive, a database of where there is a lot of light pollution and where there is less. Brilliant, here we are. We're looking at the constellation of Regulus, or Leo. There's Regulus, the brightest star. We've got our nebula, we've got our little shape and our curve of the sickle. If you are filling out one of these reports, it's important to let them know where you are using the map. Within 1 kilometer, you don't have to tell them your actual address, just roughly where you live. At the time and the date that you were looking at these objects, and how cloudy it is. Even if it is very cloudy, if you can see a lot of stars and it's cloudy, that's a good sign that you don't have much light pollution. You can even bring this outside with you at nighttime. It will give you a different version that looks more red, which makes it a little bit easier to keep focusing on the stars. So you can grab your laptop, go outside, look for Regulus in the sky and check. Do you see this many stars? Do you see a very great number of stars? Is there very little light pollution in your area? Do you see very few stars? Is there a lot of light pollution in your area? So you can see here, it's almost impossible to see Leo, whereas in a more medium sky, you can see the shape of Leo nice and clear. So by going outside, by checking and making these reports, you can contribute to our understanding of where has a lot of light pollution, where has very little, and what areas we might need to improve with those hats, those little lampshades on our streetlights. So I hope you take the chance to get involved and give the Globe at Night a report, show them how much light pollution there is in your area. And if you can find Leo in the sky, if you can look south from inside, from a window, from a balcony, this is something you can do without even going outside. So even in the times that we're living in right now, you can still contribute to these citizen science pursuits. So I hope I've covered plenty, but of course, there might still be some questions. So I wonder if we've got any questions coming from any of our other platforms.
Can you see me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you, Caoimhin. We do have some questions for you. So thanks so much for that. Our first question we've got is, are there dark sky places in Cork?
Well, there are areas in Cork that have dark skies, but official dark skies are a little different. So we have tracked official dark skies that the Dark Sky Association keep track of, but if you go somewhere where the Milky Way is visible, that's a dark sky. I always recommend either the coast or the mountains. It's very hard to build cities on the ocean or at the top of a mountain. So the Slieve Lucre Mountains that run through the top of County Cork, where it borders Kerry and Limerick, there's some lovely dark skies up there. And if you're outside the towns along the coast, so don't go to Youghal to see a dark sky, but outside of Youghal and those other areas, you should be able to see a nice glow of the Milky Way, even if it's not an official dark sky.
Great. Okay. So our next question from YouTube is that the streetlights are directed downward. So how does this impact night sky viewing?
Well, the thing with streetlights is they're very rarely perfectly pointing downwards. If you take a look at the typical kind of oval shaped streetlight, a lot of their light will leak out the sides and up. But there is also an issue with reflectivity. There are some things that are reflective. If you shine a streetlight down on the top of a silver car or a windscreen, that light's just going to bounce straight back up into the sky. And as well as the streetlights, uplighting on buildings, the lights that we often use in outdoor areas like bars and beer gardens, oftentimes they are directed up and around. So there are more and more streetlights pointing down, but there's still a little bit more work to do.
Great. So one more question here. I've got two more. how far away from Cork City would you have to go before you don't see the effects of light pollution anymore?
Well, I can tell you that I have been to one of the Slieve Lucra mountains, one of the darker ones, and you can still see the glow of Cork, and that's a good few kilometers outside of Cork City. So especially if you're up somewhere high and the city is below you, you might still see the light. But if you go on the other side of a mountain and that mountain can block the light, then you might be blocked from the city's light even a little bit closer. So the shape of the land can have an effect. And if you drive an hour away from Cork in the direction of Mallow or Macroom or one of those big towns, their light will start interfering. So it really does depend on the direction that you're going in. And because Cork City is so big and bright, an hour or two's drive away from the city is usually a good bet.
Okay. And the last question here is, who named the constellations, Caoimhin?
Oh, well, it really depends on which constellation. So Leo the lion, it comes from ancient Greek, and a lot of the constellations we see in the north come from ancient Greek. We have 88 constellations in total covering the sky. 48 of them are ancient Greek, and the other 40 come from the 17th century. So things like the lion, the hunter, the hunting dogs, all of those come from ancient Greece. But some of the constellations like the crown, the compass, the clock, they might be a little bit more modern. One of the best ways to figure out if the ancient Greeks made a constellation is to think, did the ancient Greeks know about that? Did the ancient Greeks know about bears and giraffes? They did. They didn't really know about compasses or Uluru, that great big rock in Australia. So if you see those constellations, they're definitely not ancient Greek.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Caoimhin. That was absolutely brilliant. And I'm sure a lot of people have learned brand new things they didn't know before about light pollution. Hopefully, Caoimhin has cleared up a lot of those questions that you may have already had. But if you still have questions, or maybe you have new questions after watching this, make sure you drop those in the comment section down below. We'll still continue to answer your questions here on the YouTube platform. But also make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way, when you subscribe, you get notified right away once we start going live. And once we upload any new content, you won't miss out on anything that we've put out on the channel. So don't miss out. Stay tuned with us. We'll have more soon. And thank you so much for joining us here on the BCO Education channel. Thank you to Caoimhin for running the workshop. It was fantastic. And we'll see you all again very soon here. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow, right, Caoimhin?
Yeah, maybe tomorrow.
All right. Well, it was really good seeing everyone. And please don't forget to leave your questions down below. We'll talk soon. Goodbye.